All right, well, welcome everyone to the first episode of Rise and Grind podcast. We have our first guest, Billy Ryan here. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How are you, man?
Pretty good. A little nervous. This is not something I'm used to, but I think this will be fun. Get some good info out there, So um but yeah, so just to get started, Billy was my coach for our last prep. Just kind of give you a little background on how I know Billy. And we didn't fully go through with that prep. That's a whole nother video, as you guys know. But I'm currently working with Billy right now, so we're gonna kind of go over what he's about, his coaching style, stuff like that, and then we'll answer some fun questions towards the end. So yeah, man. I guess getting into your background, what made you kind of start bodybuilding? Like where did this become like a hobby for you?
Yeah. Wow. That's a long story, and I'll try to keep it as brief as humanly possible with kind of how it started. So it wasn't initially bodybuilding. I drank a lot. I partied a lot. My whole life revolved around sitting on my butt on the couch and trying to chase girls and all that
Yeah,
fun
right.
stuff. The typical teenager, early 20s thing. I got to the point where I was pretty much an alcoholic, by definition of the sense. And I realized that I was going down a path that I didn't want to go down. And I really didn't know what to do. I had a girlfriend at the time. I'm not going to mention her name in case she watches it. She probably won't see this, but I still want to kind of keep her anonymous here. But
Sure.
I remember I picked up a really crappy weight bench at Sports Authority with like one of those kits back in the day where it would have a crap barbell and it would come with some junky plates, and then it would have
Oh yeah,
a bench, and a leg extension sort of
like
thing.
those standard weights type stuff.
Yeah. One
Yeah.
of those for like super cheap. But I picked one of those up, and my buddy and I were assembling it in my basement because I lived in my parents' basement, typical alcoholic lifestyle there.
Okay, yeah.
And and we were putting it together, and she came over to hang out, and she came in the door. She goes, "What are you doing?" She was kind of like snarky, but it was kind of her personality. And I said, "Well, we're putting together this weight bench." And she goes, "Well, you and I both know you'll never use that. You're lazy."
Oh,
And
whew.
it was a low blow, but what the thing is, it was true. I realized it was true. But of course, in my younger years, I was kind of a hothead, and I told her, I pointed and I said, "Hey, what's that over there?" And then she goes, "Oh, well, that's the door." And I was like, "Cool, use it. Don't come back."
Oh, snap.
Honestly, I mean, like
Wow.
that was the day that I decided that I'm going to start making a change. And it wasn't bodybuilding. I just wanted to lose weight because I was, your typical beer gut, skinny, fat, out of shape individual. And eventually it morphed into something else because I was starving myself. Got to the point where, I was like at work and almost passing out because I would go all day with eating just like a banana. Be like,
Oh
yeah,
wow,
this is how
yeah.
you lose weight. Because I mean, back then I'm old. We didn't really have much information. I thought you just starve yourself. So eventually I found the bodybuilding.com forums. Shout out to my old bodybuilding forums peeps. And it just kind of like morphed into an addiction. And here I am 17 years later, still doing it and still addicted.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So were you kind of like how I was? I mean, I'm young, I'm still learning all that kind of stuff, but like when I first started, literally the only movement I knew was like bicep curls.
Oh yeah, it
And
was.
and
Yep,
yeah.
it was bench and bicep curls. That's all I
Yeah,
did
I was like
every
legs.
every
Nah,
day.
who needs
No,
legs, right?
no, you wear pants, dude.
Yeah.
Like you need to show those off.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because my first kind of go around was I was into running, but I was this little guy too, and I was just trying to put on some muscle. So it all started with those like barbells that were like this long, and the widest grip was like here, Walmart bench, that
Yep.
kind of thing. So I was in the
Oh yeah.
same boat, but that's hilarious. So okay. Um yeah, so kind of moving forward, like um what's exactly like your goal right now? I know you're coaching, you're big into um that kind of field. You love watching bodybuilding, but like kind of what's like your plans right now? Like where are you going with everything?
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of torn because I am in a gaining phase right now. So my supplements have increased a little bit. I'm My food has increased. I'm to the point where like food is just no longer fun and it's becoming a chore.
Yeah.
But with all the recent deaths, RIP to all the bodybuilders and figure pros and individuals that have lost their lives recently due to the extremities of the sport. I'm really starting to second guess whether or not I want to push it any further. I mean, I'm not a huge guy, but
Hmm.
I'm sitting at about 236 pounds morning weight right now, which, I mean, for someone who was 150 pounds skinny fat, I mean,
You
that's
made some
an
progress.
appreciable amount of muscle, but
Oh yeah, for sure.
it's not healthy. It's not healthy on the body. So, I mean, I'm going to continue out this phase. I think I'm probably going to go for about 3 more weeks. I got blood work coming up here, see how everything's looking. And as far as pushing any further, I really don't think I'm going to. I think I might just kind of get to the point where I'm trying to maintain what I have so long as my health markers are good,
Yeah.
and maybe even lean down a little bit and find that happy place where, I mean, my body is all right, staying relatively lean, leaner than most, I would say. So I'm kind of torn. I know that didn't really fully answer your question, but that's
Oh no, you're
that's kind of
good.
where my mind and heart are right now.
Yeah. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. Like just growing up, I don't remember even the first guy like saw in a catalog. It might have almost been Ronnie Coleman, honestly. I feel like that's probably a lot of people's first go-to. But I was like,
Yeah,
man, this is sick. Look how good shape this guy is. He's got to be like the healthiest
right.
guy on the planet, right? You see his humongous dude just eating chicken, rice, and you think that this is a healthy sport. And I honestly think just from doing my last prep, I can't say, it's the healthiest thing. It's a sport. We literally take our bodies, as way more than me, that we take our bodies to severe, loss of fat, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of get what you mean, but it's definitely a fun sport to watch. It's something that
Yeah,
I want to step on stage eventually, and I know you've had those experiences, so that was probably
sure.
you feel accomplished, right? Somewhat.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? But like with bodybuilding, I don't think you're ever fully satisfied. I think it's part of the nature of how we are built, how our minds work. Because
Yeah.
if you're going to undertake this weird sort of, I mean, I call it a sport. Some people would argue with that, so hopefully I don't get any hate in the comments for that. But
Oh,
this
true.
this weird extreme sport is not really something that, you're out there basically to fulfill a desire that I think is unfulfillable,
Hmm.
and you'll never really get to that point where you're fully satisfied, because I feel like the moment you say, oh yeah, my physique is perfect, well, why are you even doing it?
Yeah, yeah. There's always room to improve for sure, and I think that that's a big one that I heard. Even Chris Bumstead, they're in the Olympia right now as we
Yeah.
speak, and he was even saying he was two-time Mr. Olympia, and he's even saying that after winning two of the biggest shows 2 times in a row, he still felt like he did not look that great. Like he needed to improve drastically, or he just so it's like even if he wins the biggest show in the world, he's still not happy because there's always room to improve. So
Yep.
so yeah. Um, so a big one I want to touch on that I kind of find interesting that maybe even a lot of people through this past year could be doing as well is kind of building your own gym. I think
Mm,
that's quite interesting. So how did I know COVID kind of shut gyms down, and
yeah.
with how strong of a mindset you are and your goals, was that just like right away you're like, we gotta empty out my gym, or was it already empty? Like how did that all start?
Well, I knew right away when that started happening, that kind of the route I was going to go. I already
Yeah.
had a squat rack, a commercial rack, and I had a barbell, I had a bench, I had, like 400 pounds plates. So I had basically a minimalist approach, but it's, again, with my addictive personality, it kind of blossomed into our first. It went from our 2.5 car garage becoming a 2 car garage, becoming a 1 car garage, becoming, you can't even fit a bicycle in there. So
Right.
but it's something that I absolutely do not regret, even with the amount of money that I've sunk into it. It's a passion. I love it. And I mean, I still have another piece coming. Hopefully, that's going to be this week. I mean, I'm waiting for FedEx to pick it up. It's already ordered. It's already in stock. It's ready to go. So, but I feel like it's something that I would encourage most individuals to look into if they could afford it, because how many times do you hear from people who are new to the sport or new to just exercising in general, excuses, you
Hmm.
know, like, I can't because of this, I can't because of that. Well, guess what? If you have it at your house, what excuse are you going to have? I can't because I'm lazy. Perfect. That's the same
That's true.
excuse you had the other times.
Yeah,
You're
that's
just
true.
saying it a little bit differently. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's great. And since steel prices are going up, I would say jump on it quick because everything's going up and it's not going to get any better anytime soon.
Yeah, especially. Um, I just think it's pretty cool, you're able to pick which pieces work for you, which ones you enjoy the most and stuff like that. So um that's pretty cool. And as you know, I have like a little setup in my basement. It's not
Mm.
nearly as good as yours, but we got the essentials. So if there comes a day where the gym's closed again or something happens, then as you said, what excuse do I have, right? So we gotta have a little something. So that's good.
That's why I
Um,
told you to hold on to those dumbbells, man.
yeah, that's true.
I'm glad you did.
I know. I had like for you guys watching, I had like these um dumbbells. I don't know exactly what you call them, but you put
Plate loaded, plate
yeah,
loaded.
plate
Yeah.
loaded dumbbells. You put Olympic weights on, and I was like, I'm not gonna use them. I'm gonna get rid of them. And
I called them
but
out, by the way,
yeah,
folks. I saw them on Facebook Marketplace and I saw that they're his. I'm like, dude, you probably shouldn't sell those.
yeah,
Just saying. And he decided not to, so that's good.
yeah. He saved me on that. They're definitely very useful. So
For sure, they're just a pain in the butt, like
yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of putting big plates on them. And I don't know if you saw that video a couple of weeks ago. I got to get some better collars. I was getting them into position. They were like 165s at that point, and the collar didn't hold up, and the
I
plates
saw
fell
that.
off, and it
I was like,
tweaked my
oh,
wrist. Yeah, that was no fun, and I think that wasted more energy than doing an actual set. So yeah,
yeah,
just
yeah, for
tread
sure.
with caution, everyone.
Yep, yep. So yeah, your training is I've trained with you a few times. For those people watching, I've trained with Billy a few times, and he trains hard. He doesn't take it easy. He puts all of his energy into it, and I greatly respect that. And it's um I'd say a different kind of training than what I'm used to, and it's taking his approach. I've definitely seen it improve my physique. So I guess over the years, like what was your first like type of training? Was it one rep maxes? Was it always like this? Like what was your first initial training when it came to weightlifting?
Oh no, it started off as ego lifting. It
Yeah,
started
yeah.
off as sloppy form, trying to show off for the girls in the gym that really don't care anyway.
Yeah.
Like and it eventually I got to the point where I recognized that that isn't very helpful and I was getting injured quite a bit.
Hmm.
Um, but then, I did, what year was it? Like 2011, 2012, 2012. That's where like the whole power building thing became popular. So you'd be doing like powerlifting routines with accessory work, like hypertrophy work. And I
Yep.
remember doing what was it, Smolov, which is basically, if I remember correctly, I'm totally gonna screw this up. It's Monday you squat, Tuesday you squat, Wednesday you squat, Thursday you squat, Friday you squat.
Are you
And it's all,
serious?
yeah. And the Friday squat, I believe, is 7 sets of your 3 rep max.
Oh
And
my.
it's supposed to be to the point where every third rep is like a grind. So I did that for a while. I think I only lasted about 3 or 4 weeks and I just felt like crap. This is when my whole hormonal system was thrown off from competing in 2011, which I didn't know what was going on there. But yeah, I mean, I went from like the power building, ego lifting to power building to where I am now, where I've liked to think of myself really kind of mirroring my style off of what I've learned from John Meadows, rest in peace, big guy.
Yep.
And I just really truly think that his approach is amazing with the whole activate the muscle, really work on some core lifts in like an 8 to 10 rep range, and then after that, do a lot of stuff just to cause like metabolite damage, stretching under load, really focusing on, feeling the muscle work. I know that sounds very nuanced, but just, I think it really comes down to just trying to get the most out of the time that you're in the gym in terms of the target muscle that you're training, if I really had to put it in layman's terms. So no more
Hmm.
letting your ego dictate whether or not you're going to put 3, 4, or 5 plates on.
Yeah. Yep. No, I get that. I've trained with a lot of buddies, and we had that going on. You'd hit, say 2 plates on the squat, and you get like, 4 ugly reps. And they're like, let's go all the way up to 3 plates and hit a 1 rep max. And we did that
Mhm.
week by week by week. And yeah, I quickly found, luckily, this is a sport that I've researched, well, in my knowledge, I feel like I've researched a lot, or at least I've learned from when I first started that I was like, that's just not me. And I just don't feel like that's going to work. So um, I eventually fell into the trap as well, following a lot of pros, as you know, and you kind of called me out on
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning a lot. And your approach is, you would say high volume, right?
Yeah. Relatively high volume.
Right now. Okay.
I like, I kind of fall into that framework of roughly a good recommendation is 10 to 20 hard sets per week per muscle group. I tend to have a little bit higher of an MRV for max recoverable volume.
Mm-hmm.
I think that depending on the muscle or the body part, I mean, my back, if I split it up into 3 sessions, I can literally get upwards of 32 sets per week and still recover fully. But I
Mm-hmm.
can only do that for a certain period of time. And it's not like I'm taking every set to failure. I definitely want to highlight that. I think individuals that train to failure on every single set are setting themselves up for failure, maybe, unless
Yeah.
you have a very low volume approach. And of course, this is debatable. It's nothing that I can say, here's the hard evidence and the facts on. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I am a relatively high volume guy, but not to the point where it's, I guess, like where you'd be like, that's crazy. What on earth is he doing? So
Yeah. No, I think your approach is really well. Like, um, for those guys watching right now, we kind of transformed from what I was doing, like one top set, maybe two top sets. So it wasn't much volume to, maybe doing like 5 working sets, but what it does, or even like 4 working sets, somewhere in that range. But he has me do is like keeping reps in the tank and week by week, kind of making it, less and less reps in the tank to where it's working up to failure. Cause I think something that I've learned too when I first started is this is a new movement for me. This is weightlifting is completely new. And yet I still thought from watching Ronnie Coleman, you go 100%
mm,
all in as soon as you start. And then I'd be trashed for a week and wouldn't work out. And I was like, this sport sucks. Like you can't train like that. So there's
yeah.
definitely a big learning curve there.
Yeah. The neurological adaptations for a new movement are, I mean, it has to be taken into account. I mean, that's more something that you would look at in a powerlifting aspect, trying to train that movement pattern over and over again to become more efficient at it.
Mhm.
But obviously with bodybuilding, it's almost the opposite. You want to be as inefficient as possible because you're not trying to just move it from point A to point B. You're trying to recruit as much muscle fibers as you can in that target area while moving it from point A to point B. But the
Yeah.
whole logic behind that neurological adaptation still holds true because you have to be able to learn that pattern. And I feel like you're not going to really get the most out of a set if you're loading up the bar with so much weight where it's just like, you're almost like praying that you're going to get through the set without dying
Yeah.
until you get to that point where you're proficient enough where you go, okay, I feel comfortable, because then you're less focused on not dying and more focused on, I already know this movement, I'm going to move this weight properly.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. That's yeah. Um, so after kind of talking about that, what would be looking back, what would be maybe your own advice to yourself when you first started? Because as
Sure.
you just yeah, I know that's a big one. I know
Such a
that you
broad question.
I know. But like, looking back, you said, you did this strategy and then this strategy, and now you're kind of on high volume. Like,
Yeah.
is there one thing that you could tell yourself, like, hey, let's lower the weight, or could you say like, let's do this strategy? Like, is there any one thing that you could think of? Maybe you could tell your young self.
Yeah, I would, I would say listen to what your body's actually saying and not to what the people in the gym are saying.
Yeah.
Really, because like if something hurts, like hurts, not like, oh, I feel the burn or whatever, don't do it. You don't have to do a specific movement if it isn't tailored to your body, or if you don't have the movement pattern down yet. Lower the weight, figure out how you're going to actually utilize this, or move on to something else. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was under the impression that I had to bench, squat, and deadlift. I was under the impression that everything had to be free weights. Any sort of machine does not build muscle. It was just all this bro science, if you will, that I had clouding my judgment. And I think, they didn't really have much scientific literature available on the internet there in terms of hypertrophy and strength training. So I think, I had no choice but to look at the magazines and look at the individuals in the gym that, most of them don't really know what they're doing, I guess, not to call
Mm-hmm.
anyone out. And I think if I were to give myself advice, I would tell myself to slow down, and focus more on being consistent in my approach versus just trying to kill myself and obliterate myself every single time I'm in there.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Um, yeah, honestly, I think for me would be, and I'm still learning, I'm still figuring things out, but I've definitely
Well, me too.
really, yeah, yep. I think what honestly would be to, oh boy, yeah, what would it be? That is a tougher question than I thought. Yeah.
I know. There's like so many paths you could take with this.
I feel like I've always been self-conscious about form, but I feel like in my beginner's years, I just kind of grabbed a bar and I knew exactly what I was doing. You just got to literally lift it like this video or that video says. But I guess I realized that there's so much more into the form. Like some people, you just literally will lay on the bench and don't plant their feet or don't have their arms a certain width, all that kind of stuff for
Yeah.
like a bench. So I guess for me would kind of be figure out the form before moving up in weight. Cause for all you other younger guys listening, a big thing, this is kind of something I really learned is if you have bad form and yet you're still, moving the weight from point A to point B, yeah, you might still increase in weight, but like down the road, you're gonna get really injured, right? You
Yeah.
agree?
Oh,
Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think a huge thing for people listening is really get the form down because the strength will come. It will
Mhm.
increase. And that's something I've greatly learned that working with Billy that writing down your workouts, seeing what you were last week, progress slowly from last week to the next week, and strength will be there, but keep form in check. So that's probably my big one.
And
So
that's really good advice. I agree 100% on every point you had there. So
so how long have you been like tracking your workouts? Like I noticed working out with you, you literally will write down the dot of like reps on
yeah,
every movement you do, and you're very, very strategic about your approach. How long you been doing that?
17 years, man, since I
17
started
years.
lifting. Yeah. I mean, I still have logbooks that are at least 12 years old.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's ridiculous. I should probably burn them, but
Oh,
it's kind of cool to look back and see, holy crap, like 185 for 543 on bench press. I'm like, and that was like PR, I'm like, dang, all right, I guess I've gotten a little bit stronger. So
oh, for
I
sure.
could do 190 now.
So your garage is just filled with tubs of a 190 now, yeah, right. So your garage is filled with tubs of like bunch
It's
of booklets and stuff like that.
no, I think they're in the basement. They're somewhere. My wife would know. She can find everything. I can't. I'm like, babe, where's this? She's like, you mean your head? And I'm like, yeah. And she'll point to it. I'll be like,
Oh my
oh yeah, you're
god.
right. There it is.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's been a big change for me is, you know, I think I've talked to a lot of pros and I think that's another thing I still fall into is a lot of them say, "Oh, I don't have a logbook. I don't need that." But they also have coaches. They're doing it, 24/7, that kind of stuff. And some of them might have a logbook, like, but I guess that doesn't really matter. So basically, what I'm saying is like we're literally writing down like your weights from one week to the next has like made a huge difference for me. So
Good.
even
Yeah, I'm
if you're
glad.
getting like 6 reps of 225, next week getting 7, it's like my legs haven't like been so sore, like so it's great feeling for
Yeah,
sure. But
that's improvement, man.
yeah. If you're like 225, that was like 17 years ago when I had that on the bar. Right.
Oh, like after I think I was telling you after my last contest season, which was all the way back in 2011,
Yeah.
225 on the bar for squats was like moving heaven and earth. It was hard. It was
Yeah.
very hard, because when I don't know, we like we approached prep and dug really deep, and we did a lot of high intensity interval training, and it was to the point where like I couldn't sit down because my butt hurt. I'm trying not to, I don't know if we could swear on here, if demonetize you.
Oh, you're
My butt hurt, and like I had nothing left. So yeah, 225 was very heavy then.
yeah. Wow. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so a question. By the way, thank you for everyone for submitting some questions. Really appreciate it. We will have those coming up often, so keep them coming. We will answer as many as we can, but we'll be on here for a little bit. So
Yeah, and Chris wants you to ask what color underwear he's wearing every week.
yeah,
So
right.
make sure you
we'll
put that in there,
we'll
folks.
answer that one last. Save the best for last. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. All right. So Flat barbell bench, yes or no?
Oh man, like everything I'm going to say, it depends. It really does
Yep.
depend on the context. So,
Yeah,
I mean, let's take a look at a power lifter. Is it a no? Well, then you're not going to actually be able to compete because that's one of the lifts that you have to perform on.
it's true.
So
Yeah.
flat barbell bench is, something that you would have to do in that situation. Now, from a hypertrophy aspect, I like it. It fits my body well. I like it a lot. Uh, can it be more injurious than other movements? Certainly, I think the history shows that uh, a lot of pec tears do happen on a flat barbell bench press. It just does. But is that trade-off worth it? Well, I think that's something that the individual will have to decide for themselves. And I mean, I think it comes down to what you're trying to get out of it. If you're trying to grow your chest and you feel a good mind muscle connection, you are able to retract your scapula, your arms are staying somewhat close to your body, you're not flaring out your elbows too far, so you're hitting your rotator cuffs too hard or feeling it all in your shoulders, and it's targeting the chest wall, then I would say absolutely, by all means. It's a great way to move a decent amount of weight and
Mm-hmm.
get good recruitment from the pack fibers. But if it's something that bothers you and incline feels better, go with incline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I've honestly, and I don't know if it's because I just, didn't track my workouts, so I wasn't seeing progressions, because I feel like flat barbell sometimes you can hit plateaus. Like hitting that 135, I think, was a big marker for me. Then once I finally hit 2 plates, it's like you have those little markers in there. So those kind of was a mind game for me. But yeah, bench press I've honestly never really been a fan of. And that was one thing, working out with a lot of buddies back home, that was the go-to every chest day. And I was like,
Of
man,
course.
I just am not a, but yeah, I guess just how it is. A lot of bros, they're just like, bench press, you got to do bench. And I don't know, I just was never a big fan of it. And like you said, there is no one specific movement you have to do. I think that finding what works for you, what you feel most, I think you'll get best results out of. So yeah.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Flat barbell bench. It's no one way. It's whatever works for you guys, I guess. So
That's right. And that's going to be a lot of the answers, folks. I'm
right.
sorry.
Bodybuilding is definitely or just weightlifting in general. Like, everyone's different, and you can follow one guy on Instagram and then follow another guy on Instagram or YouTube, and they do two different completely approaches, but they're both huge. Like,
Yep.
it's yeah, it's a interesting but constant learning sport, right? So
Indeed.
um all right, so fan of ice baths, is that something you enjoy?
I think it should be avoided at all costs because there's actually some recent literature on the fact that ice baths actually do lower hypertrophy. There was actually
Oh,
daily
really?
myofibrillar protein synthesis rates were actually decreased exponentially in the groups of individuals that did ice baths after their training. And for the how it feels, which is horrible. If you've ever done one, folks, it's absolutely awful.
Hate it.
And the fact that it lowers your rate of protein synthesis based on these studies. Of course, there needs to be a little bit more research, I think, going into it, in the context of hypertrophy, but I'm not going to risk it. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, I don't like it anyways. And I have like this huge fear of, an ice cube getting stuck to my dangly bits and then pulling it off and it
Oh
ripping the
my.
skin. So
Well, I never heard that one
is that a
before, but
normal fear? I don't know.
yeah. I've never had that fear, but I guess I don't do too many
Okay.
ice baths either. Yeah.
Me neither. And that's part of the reason why.
Yeah, right. Well, that's an interesting one. I I think I've always just, well, I don't do many ice baths, but I've done them here and there just for fun challenges. So it's not really my go-to, but I know some people that are big fans of them. And um but that's definitely a new thing that I've learned. I did not know much about that. So okay. So is there something that um you do besides food, rest, water, all that kind of stuff, that's out of, I wouldn't say really out of the norm, but maybe something that people don't think of? And I think I have one
Yeah.
that you might do that I know a
Mhm.
lot of people probably don't do, but is there something you do that really helps your mental or physical recovery?
Oh, for sure. And this is something that I put off for so long. A little bit of mindfulness practice right after training. So
Okay.
uh, one thing that I do like to do is I stand in the garage, which is my gym. I'm not the weirdo just standing in my garage, by the way. And I make sure my music is off at that point, and I really just listen to the sounds, and I focus on my breathing. I'll listen to the birds. I'll hear, cars going by. And the whole idea behind that is to try to get you out of that sympathetic state and into a parasympathetic state as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know in the literature, it's pretty clear on the fact that if you stay in a sympathetic state for a prolonged period of time, your body's going to continue to dump cortisol. It's going to impede recovery. It's going to burn out your adrenals. Digestion is going to be off because it's hard to digest food when you're in that, constant fight or flight state. So that's something that I've been implementing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, I feel like it's made a huge difference because I've been able to recover quicker. I don't feel like I need to deload nearly as often. My deloads are very frequent, and I've been focusing more on what Mental Henselman's does, where he doesn't do like full planned deloads. He just kind of deloads a movement if it's bothering him or becoming stale. Like if the squat is starting to get to the point where it feels like it might be injurious, or his hips are bothering him, or he feels like it's not progressing, he'll back off that squat for the day and kind of swap it with something that's a lot less demanding on the central nervous system, and just kind of allow his body to recover that way and reassess. And I think that is something that most individuals don't do, but
Mm-hmm.
stress management is basically the summary of what I was trying to get at there.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've said it already, but how long you been doing that for?
Probably about 6 months, 7 months, and it's made a difference. So
Okay, yeah. No, that's really cool. That is what I was thinking, because I remember we were talking once and you mentioned that, and I was like, I feel like when people say that kind of stuff, I think of them just kind of doing yoga and just
yeah,
in a silence, like
just like
that. Yeah, that's
yeah,
kind of what I thought. But
you could do that. I mean, if
yeah,
that works for you,
I mean,
whatever.
I guess it works. So, yeah, I guess my main things for recovery has just been, the basics, food, resting,
Getting enough sleep now for a change.
yeah, that was a big one. If you guys,
Oh,
me and Billy, we worked in our last prep together, and that was the biggest thing for me. I had such
by far.
yeah. So you guys talk to Billy, and he will always say, get your sleep in, because it is huge. Like, it is one of those things that even when I talk to other people, like, how many hours of sleep, they're like, I get, a pretty good amount, like 5. And I'm like, oh wow.
Pretty
So
good amount. What are they
yeah,
basing that
I
on?
know. I think they know it's 8, but since it's like 3 hours shy, they're like, I might take a,
Oh, no big deal.
yeah. So
Just roughly like a 40% reduction. Who cares?
yeah, so that was my biggest struggle, because I had a job, I had my shift at 4:30 in the morning. We were doing fasted cardio, so I get up super early. So my biggest issue was just learning to go to bed earlier and getting that rest, because um it's huge. That is very important. So all right, well, let's move on to another question. Let's see what we got here. Oh, all right. So this is I just kind of want to ask you this, and maybe I'm weird for doing it. Maybe you do it too. I'm just kind of curious. And this is my own question that I just want to throw out there, because maybe other people do the same thing. Is there any like weird ritual type thing that you do before, during, after? And I guess I could answer mine first, so maybe you can kind of see what I mean.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I almost never wear shorts on leg day. Like, I do, but I stopped doing it for, I don't know. I have like this weird thing where the body part I'm training, I almost have to like cover up. And so like if I do legs, I will wear sweatpants, whatever. If I do an upper body workout, I'll wear a really baggy shirt. And sometimes I'll wear like a tank top, because like you got to see the pump, you got to feel good in the gym sometimes. So
Yeah, for sure.
but I have like this weird mind game that, like, if my legs are covered up and I'm about to hit a heavy squat, if I feel in my head I'm bigger than what I actually am, the fear, or like the thought of like I can't move this weight, like, goes away. So like I wear sweatpants and I feel like my legs are decently good, and they look bigger in like sweatpants than they do in shorts. So if I am wearing shorts and I'm about to hit a heavy squat, I'm like, wow, my legs really suck. So I purposely make sure they're covered up, because mentally I feel like I'm bigger than I am, so I can move this weight like it's nothing. Like, is that
It
weird? Or
makes
is,
no, it makes sense. It really does, because mindset is very huge, especially on the big lifts. If you're going for something like, a heavier deadlift, a heavier squat, or a heavier bench press, you really got to have your mind in it, because
mm-hmm,
those movements are literally very technical. Bench press, not as much, but it's more technical than people give credit for.
mm-hmm.
And you have to really focus on all elements of it. And if you hesitate out of that hole, I mean, that could be an injury or a misrep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything that you think of you do like beforehand that's like
Not,
your go-to every day?
not really. It's just, I mean, I was going to answer that question more along the lines of, I'm pretty much a creature of habit. So everything I do is almost a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
I train pretty much at the same time every day. I eat my meals at the same time every day. I go to bed at the same time every day. It's just pretty much everything I do is the same thing over and over again. And I know a lot of people will be like, that's no way to live. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't trade it for the world. So not really anything when it comes to lifting. Of course, my thing is when it's a little bit cooler out, PJ pants. So I
Yeah.
guess that's kind of my thing. I lift in PJ pants.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you do. That's awesome though. That's like your style type thing. So
Yep.
that's cool. Yeah, that's there's a lot that I've learned from working with you and um just in these past years. And I think uh oh shoot, I just kind of lost what I was talking about. Oh,
Brain
that's what it
farted.
was. Yeah, I did. I was like reading the next question. I was like, oh wait. And is consistent every day. Like in college, I would be consistent with my workouts. I'd eat say 5 meals a day, but there was like that little percent that I would miss, and that would be sleep was fine. Like in college, you go to class, you go home, you sleep, like that was all right. Well, there were some days I would stay up all night, that type of stuff. But
Of
there
course,
there
college.
yeah, there was just those like little percents that I missed that really down the road like added up to a big thing that kind of really hurt me. And that was like, not getting protein within the meals. As you saw, I would eat McDonald's in this meal because my other 4 meals were good. So it was like whatever.
Yeah.
So just missing those little marks that actually make a big difference. So being consistent is, you know, and would you agree that is like, big, like it makes the huge difference, right?
I'd underline it. I think that is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I honestly feel like if someone had a pretty crappy workout design, but they pushed pretty hard and they did it consistently, they're going to crush and do way better than someone who has a really good programming design, but does it inconsistently.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Yep. Okay. Yeah. Consistency, guys, it's huge. And I talk to a lot of people that, tell me they do this, but this is one thing that they lack. And if you improve on that one thing you lack, I'm sure that could make the bit, a difference of the piece you're missing. So
Especially if they're saying, I don't know why I'm not making progress, but this is one thing I lack.
yeah.
Well, uh, hello, try it. See what
You're
happens.
improve on that lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, I feel like I wish I could answer, but probably can't. And a lot of my buddies ask me this too, even though I probably still, they know I can't answer it. They more make fun of me. How do you grow your calves?
You're asking the dude with the
Yeah.
worst calves in the world.
Well,
Love that
I think
question.
every podcast I have lined up, no one's got calves. So maybe I should ask like Hunter Labrada or something like,
Yeah, I would. Well, then he would say, genetics, but
oh, that's true.
I honestly, I think genetics play a huge role in calves because I crush the crap out of mine. I mean, they've grown, but my calf insertions are so high. And by the way, every single bodybuilding competition that I've been in, I think only one judge out of all the scorecards I've seen didn't put calves and underline it. Like
Oh yeah.
feedback. Yeah. Like the calves, and it'd be like triple underlined. I'd be like, okay, yeah, I know. Like, what do you want
Seriously?
me to, yeah, what do you want me to do? Buy them? Like, I'm trying, bro.
I
Like, I'm trying.
uh
But like I think as with any other muscle, if I could give the best advice, I would just say train them hard, train them frequently, 10 to 20 sets per week. And if it's really something that's a lagging body part and you want to make better, train them first, prioritize them.
yeah. Yeah, that's a
Like
good one.
if you train them on leg day, do calves first.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and I don't listen to my own advice because I put them at the end. I think
Okay.
I'm fed up. I'm fed up with them, man. I'm like to the point where I'm like, I'm going to try to make progress. And I know that's my own fault, that
Yeah.
they're not going to really overtake anything else, but I'm okay with that right now.
Is that really how, I don't have much experience with competing in shows and them giving you feedback, but how much does calves matter? Is it actually like that big to flow with your physique? They actually look at it that much, huh?
Not so much nowadays as it was in days past. I mean, if you look at Ian Villiers, awesome physique, terrible calves.
Yeah, yeah.
Like no offense, like it's not for him not trying because I know he trains like an animal.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's awesome, great bodybuilder, but he doesn't have any calves and he still places very high.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's much of an emphasis as it used to be, but I think every single body part does play some sort of a role in
Mm-hmm.
your overall scoring if the judges are looking for that. It's very
Well,
subjective.
well, then I better get working on mine, dude. No.
Crush him, man.
I
I'm telling
know.
you, blood flow restriction training on calves is brutal.
Yeah.
If you want pain, you want to grow your calves or at least make it feel like it's growing, that'll do it because it hurts.
And I feel like I've seen some progression in my calves, but the weird thing with me, I don't know what it is, but like I could train my calves, say 3 sets, put a decent weight on there, do 15 reps, and they are destroyed the next day. I don't even have to do like any of these like intensifiers. Not that we have them on our program, but like I'd never really done those. So like one week I'll do 3 sets, 15. Next week, 5 sets of 10 or whatever. And it's like I get in these modes where I train them hard and sometimes I don't. But like it's like if I just train them straight of like this amount of reps, they're still destroyed. And I'm like,
Well, it sounds like you're training them once a week. Do we have them in there? I swear we have them in there more than once a week.
oh, I mean, I'm just talking in the past, but yeah, we do. And they're destroyed.
Okay.
Like literally, I think we have them. We have 2 leg days. Um, starting at 5 sets and then yeah, so and they're just short, like they're I don't even have to put on a weight to where I'm like grinding out the last rep. It's just like the
Yeah.
last rep burns, but it's not like awful, and they're sore, so sore. So
Incredibly sore. Well, it could be, we got to take into account the amount of cardio you're doing as well. I mean, your
yeah.
cardio is pretty high. And
Okay.
especially since you're opting for the treadmill versus elliptical, that's going to be a lot of calf recruitment. The more steps you get in, the more you're going to actually, hit your calves. And one way to actually grow calves, if you want, probably not the best approach, is get fat. Because
Don't
when you
tell
walk
people
around,
that. Oh
well,
god, no.
when you walk around, you're like 300 pounds. That's a lot of calf training.
Oh man.
It's true. Have you ever really seen like an obese person with small calves?
I mean, no,
Maybe
you're right,
maybe
but
small
shoot,
ankles, but their calves are gigantic.
be careful with that advice, guys. But yeah, if you're
Yeah,
only
I do not advocate obesity if you could help it.
if
And
you're
if you are
only
obese, I'm not trying to offend you in any way possible. But you can hire me if you need a little bit of coaching. So
there, yeah, there you go. I mean, he is complimenting your guys' calf, so I mean, there is a
you got
problem there.
awesome calves. I don't. So
Yeah, that's hilarious. All right. Let's see. Okay, well, here's a big, broad question, but what would you say is your greatest accomplishment? This is a tough one.
yeah, I would probably have to go to the fact that um, college, getting a degree because there's no one in my family, immediate family, that has a degree. I can't remember if it's my mom or my dad. No, my mom didn't complete high school. If I remember correctly, my mom's watching this and getting pissed, throwing something at the screen. But my brothers never went to college.
Okay.
No one really in my family has. And I was always told, and I believed it for a long time, that I would never amount to anything because, like I said, I was basically an addict. I was a partier. I smoked over a pack a day. I drank beer when the sun came up. I was
Hmm.
just a lousy low life. And if you are that, I'm not saying you're a low life. I'm sure you're a great person, but it means that you can get out of it. You can get out of it. So as an adult, I took and put myself through college, and we're talking, how many years removed from high school was I? Like 9, something like that. Maybe somewhere around 9 years or so removed from high school. So I mean, I was starting from scratch, and I went ahead
Hmm.
and put myself through college and earned my bachelor's in education, and went on to become a teacher. I taught in Vegas for 4 years in an inner city school, and I realized that wasn't my calling and it was still fitness for me. So joined the company I'm with right now, which is owned by United Healthcare, and that's what I do. So I think just being able to put myself through something when people told me I couldn't was probably the biggest thing I've done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why I think me and you work really well together. And I have a lot of respect for you, is because you're not one of those guys that, let's say, heck, if I threw out there to you, I want to win a pro card, you're like, I know you would be like, all right, well, let's dig deep, get to work, and you'd make a plan. It wouldn't be, yeah, that probably won't happen for you. Yeah, you're realistic about things, but like, I, I think with you, like, if there's a goal that I want, you would help me get there, right?
Yeah,
So
I would help you get there. And like you said, though, I'd be realistic about it.
yeah,
I would say, okay, but let's first try to do an actual local show.
for sure.
you know,
Yeah, for sure.
let's try to
Yeah,
do a local show.
yeah.
Let's see, just like with something local, then, see if we can get nab a win at a national qualifier or something like that, and just take it in baby steps. And I would
Hmm.
honestly tell you, if you're at the point where, let's say, you qualified for nationals and we knew for a fact that, well, you're not top 10 material, I would let you know that. I would say, I don't think you're top 10 material. It's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do you still want to do it? And if you do, I'll coach you through it, but I want to set those realistic expectations and say that you'd probably be better served having a longer off season and really just kind
Hmm.
of focusing on that next step. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's big, is I'm with you, it's like just honesty and taking the right steps rather than just giving me what I like to hear. So um, that makes my progress way better. So yeah, I kind of feel like I should have answered this question first because you kind of stole my answer.
And that's all right.
Yeah. I honestly, I think that's just the biggest thing, is like when you think back like 4 years at one place, you're just like, dang, there's no way. Like, I don't know. I had in this mindset that I have to go to college because none of my family did. None of my aunts, uncles, my mom or dad, I think they maybe went for like a semester, something
Oh,
like
cool.
that.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. So like I had no family that went to college, and I'm the second oldest in my family, and my oldest brother didn't go to college. So I'm like, I I just kind of set that standard, like, this is gonna be hard as hell. I don't know if I can do
Yeah.
it. I'm terrified. We're gonna do it. And I think that's my biggest thing, is like I took it year by year, stepping out of my comfort zone more than I've ever have. Like that was nerve-wracking, speaking in classes in front of like, now my college wasn't that big. It was like maybe class of 30, 50. I know people got way more than that, but my personality is not to speak in front of like large groups. So
Yeah.
that was probably
It's hard.
yeah, that's tough. So that's probably my biggest accomplishment, is graduating, because like after walking across that stage and then seeing my parents like just proud of, like, shoot, they can see like, oh my gosh, he did it, like.
Yeah, it's awesome. It is a good feeling.
Yeah, yep.
And then
So
you're like, told you suckers, and you
yeah,
feel
I
like you're going at them.
I freaking did it. No, right. Yep. But all right. So moving on to being on prep, me and you might have different answers, or maybe we'll disagree, but I guess it depends on the person and what you enjoy most or what you hate most. So from your experience of being on preps, getting ready for shows, what is the hardest part, or the part that you least enjoy the most?
Well, I enjoy it, but it's the hardest part is after prep.
Oh,
After prep
oh,
is one of the hardest things. The
that's a good
transition
answer.
into an off season in order to, keep the wheels on course without going off the rails and gaining a ton of weight. My first contest season, within the first week, or actually the first couple days, I was up like 32 pounds because of how much I ate. My body just retained the water. But then
Yeah.
I was so sick from all the food I ate that I wasn't able to eat much for like 3 or 4 days. And I ended up netting like 11 or 12 pounds in one week, which, being 158 pounds, that's a lot.
Mhm.
That's not a small amount of weight. So I would say the hardest thing is post prep. But if you're talking about during prep, when the fatigue gets real and just trying to walk yourself up the driveway or get off the chair
Mhm.
and go to another place, it's like, it's so hard. Like, you're so tired, but you can't sleep at certain points.
Mhm.
This isn't how it is with everyone, but that, with my experience towards the end, that's how it gets. So
Yeah. So you gaining all that weight. And I know you've learned from that, but like, was that your first show you did
Yeah, that
that
was
happened?
2009. Yeah.
So, uh, just because it's kind of funny to look back, is that something you said you ate like a full loaf of bread, a full jar of peanut butter, that type deal?
That was
Yeah.
after we got back from the restaurant and I had a burger, fries, my girlfriend's fries, and half of my parents' pizza.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
like I split a brownie. It was like a brownie, like molten brownie ice cream thing with I forgot who I split it with, but I think I ate the majority of it anyway. So that was bad. But in the middle of the night, I woke up in the hotel because we were in Indianapolis and I was dry heaving because I didn't drink enough water because at those days, like they were like, oh, dehydrate yourself. That's how you come in looking good. And so
Hmm.
I had like barely any water in my system and like 40 pounds of peanut butter. And
Jeez.
it's just like I couldn't throw up. And I woke up in my face, like, thank God my parents drove. My face was so swollen that my eyes were almost completely shut.
Really?
Yeah, my parents didn't even think like maybe we should take him to the hospital. I'm sure my blood pressure was like 200 over 100. It was bad.
Man, that's
Like when I was
nuts.
walking, it like literally I felt like a waterbed.
Yeah.
Everything was jiggling. I'm like, what
You're
the
just
hell?
sweating and stuff.
I wasn't really sweating. I just felt so sick and it was
Yeah.
bad. I mean,
Wow.
maybe I was sweating. I don't really remember that part though.
You're just like, I just feel like garbage. It doesn't even
Oh, it
matter
was
at this point.
terrible. It was
Wow.
horrible. I was just like trying not to puke in the car on the car ride home. So that was fun.
Well, there's advice for you guys competing. Make your rebound as a priority because
Yeah,
you know.
have one meal post contest and then get back to your plan, or maybe even breakfast the next day. And I'm not saying eat as much as you can in that meal and eat as much as you can at breakfast.
Hmm.
Enjoy yourself like an appetizer, a burger or some pizza, and split a dessert. And then the next morning get like pancakes and eggs, and then go back to your plan. I think
Hmm.
that would probably be the best advice there. Otherwise, shoot yourself in the foot and set yourself up for a really lousy off season.
Yeah, and that's as you know, that's exactly what I did. Like we didn't even finish a full prep, and I got
I
down. I think
told you you can
I
have a
know.
burger. You can go have a burger. And he's like, don't have to tell me twice. And then like 2 days later, I find out he had a lot more than a burger.
Oh gosh, it I couldn't believe, like, even I was on, I think we got to what, like 6 weeks out, and then is when we kind of like shut it down.
Based on the blood work,
But
folks. Always do
yeah,
blood work.
yep. And shoot, man, that was, I can't imagine going through a prep and then afterwards. So that's a good answer.
Do you remember what you
Because,
gained in that week
oh
period,
man,
roughly?
I think I was like 155, and I think I shot up to like, how was it, like one, almost 170, maybe 168. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you were just over that 170 mark. So,
So, yeah.
15 to 16 pounds, which I've seen much worse.
Hmm.
But I mean, it didn't. I mean, you could agree it didn't look pretty. It wasn't
Oh,
15 to 16 pounds of muscle.
I
It was night and day.
I didn't feel that great. Yeah. Oh, actually, no. Now that I remember back, I felt awful. Like
Yeah,
I
I remember
remember
you said you felt horrible. You felt
I
worse than when you were on prep.
I literally, it just I think I tried zoning it out too, kind of like what you did. And
Mental
I
block.
yeah, that I literally remember I was in the evening time, and I don't remember if it was like we ate donuts or what it was, but holy crap, I was like, it felt like someone was trying to claw out of his way out of my stomach, and I was in so much pain. I literally was laying on the ground. I was like, what the hell is going on with me? So yeah, yeah, that's
You live
crazy.
and you learn, though. That's what
Right.
that's what it's all about. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think this next time around we'll I gotta be smarter. So
for sure, well, it's all right. We'll do it.
yeah, for sure. Um, oh, I didn't even answer the question. Oh shoot. Okay. So I haven't been on prep much, so it's like I haven't had that experience, but
Well, based on
from,
what you experienced,
yeah, from what I've experienced, I think I just was so exhausted from working, a 40-hour week, and our food was pretty low as the sport, goes. And I would honestly say probably the cardio. I think that we made a smart decision this time. Like you said, let's end the stair mill, go to the treadmill. And I think that, my heart rate still gets where it needs to be. And I think that was a good step. But I think after training legs on low calories and then working 40 hours a week and then lack of sleep, hopping on that stair mill for like 50 minutes, I just was like, I think I'm about to just fall off. Like that was, I hated that.
it's
Knowing,
horrible, man.
that
Yeah.
was, that was rough. My legs were just so fatigued, and just one step at a time, knowing you still had like another 30 minutes. You're like, and I can't stop. You just one step out. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
that was.
Did I tell you how much cardio I did when I was prepping right before COVID? When I
I
was
can't
about 5 weeks
remember,
off,
but how much was it? It had it's
it was
how,
zero.
what? Oh, I thought you said you
I
had
did
a
no cardio. I only did steps. Yeah. I was getting
really
15 to 16,000 steps a day. I
okay.
relied solely on steps and nutrition because I'm like, I don't even want to do cardio. I don't have really a means to do cardio
Mm,
here. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it without cardio. And I mean, I got pretty shredded. I had striated glutes. I still had probably about 5 to 7 pounds of fluff that I want to get off to be
mm-hmm.
appreciable on stage, but I still had about 5 weeks left. So
Oh,
yeah, and
was
that,
you said this was your last prep?
yeah, this was
Oh,
right
okay.
before COVID. What year
Oh,
was that? 2019? I
yeah.
was prepping. Yeah, towards the end there of
Okay.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I thought you were talking about was like your first show maybe where you had like an hour of cardio here and then like hit cardio there and stuff like
Oh,
that. So
that was 2011. Yeah, that was a lot
oh,
of cardio.
that was way back. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of took like the I think this is how he does it, John Jewett approach, so where he just like really tracks his step on his Fitbit, that type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to utilize all my energy and output for training. And I think it worked pretty well. That's an approach I'm probably going to take again. I don't know if I'm going to compete, but I do plan on, I think around February, I'm going to decide whether or not I want to start kind of a mock prep or at least like diet down to decent uh, low body fat levels, maybe do a photo shoot, something like that, depending on how it goes.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many people do it, but the people I follow, and I know everyone's different for, really getting down to that leanness for stage, but I see people doing the step counts a lot more. Like I follow a couple other guys just the other day, and maybe it's been around or maybe I just haven't seen it, but I see a lot more people actually doing that approach. Like one guy was like a week out and he was getting 20,000 steps. So like, I mean, you get 20,000 steps a day, like you're burning, a good amount. So
Yeah.
I see that approach more often, honestly.
I think it's a more applicable approach than just doing cardio because a lot of the studies show that if you're doing cardio and it gets to the point where it's fatiguing, if you're not tracking your steps, your body has that natural propensity to downregulate later and not move around as much. So you could basically burn fewer calories doing cardio than if you were to control just for steps. But if you're able to do both, control for steps and still have cardio if necessary, that's going to limit all those variables.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Um, so this is a big one that I've been wanting to discuss with you because it's something that I've learned recently. And I think we've all fallen into the trap, when we're in college and we're first learning that you gotta bulk up. And when you bulk up, you're gonna gain weight like crazy. And then you're gonna shred down, you're gonna be bigger than you were before. But that's something that I'm learning too right now. And I really wanted to discuss this with you because I think you could really put it in good terms for people to understand that it isn't going to gain like 30 pounds in this month or whatever. So I don't know if that's something maybe you could touch on a little bit to kind of explain your
Sure.
strategy that you took with me and trying to get down super lean, gain slowly, and kind of explain that a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we're looking in the context of a natural athlete and a natural trainee that has a very young training age, maybe just getting into the sport, their rate of gain is going to be much higher than someone who has 5, 6, 7, 10 plus years of actual training under their belt, consistent training, knowing what they're doing, good programming, good nutrition. With that being said, if you're a new lifter and you don't know what you're doing, honestly, you could probably gain a good 10 to 15 pounds of lean tissue in your first year. That may not
Yeah.
seem like a lot, but that actually is an appreciable amount of muscle mass. It's a lot.
Hmm.
Now, let's say, for example, your training age is a little bit higher. Like myself, if I were a natural athlete, and I'm going to totally just put out there that I am on TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, through a doctor, so I would not consider myself a natural athlete. Uh, if I were a natural athlete, I would look at maybe 1 to 2 pounds of muscle gain per year if I'm lucky. And that would be if I'm checking all the boxes and all the stars align. And, I pray to the Buddha gods and Lucky the leprechaun puts his pixie dust on my
There
earlobe.
you
All
go.
those things will really make a difference. So if you're an individual that goes on an off season, you're gaining 20, 30 pounds. What are you doing? You're just throwing on a lot of fat. Yeah, you're going to
Yeah.
get stronger. That's great. But in the same context, it's almost a double-edged sword, because if you are a 150-pound bodybuilder, you want to be a 180-pound bodybuilder, you're not going to get there by bulking to 160.
Yeah. Okay.
So you really got to look at that. But is your body going to allow you to get to that naturally? And that's where, if you go into the enhanced realm, there's a whole new context that comes into play there. So I think it really, as a natural athlete, if you are 5 to 7 years or more of consistent training, I would look to maybe 2 to 3 pounds of muscle mass per year.
Yep. Okay. So what are like some markers, and I know we've discussed this, but like that you could see, like, do you take a skin caliper and be like, oh, this is, the range, or do you like solely look at the look, like, do I got abs, do I got separated quads? Like, what are some markers maybe people can be like, all right, once I get to this point, this is how I can have an idea of like this is when I can start gaining or upping food a little bit.
Sure. And this varies from coach to coach and individual to individual. Myself, I just like to use a scale in the mirror. I like to look at pictures. How am I performing in the gym?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to look at pictures of myself, despite the fact that I do post quite a few pictures on Instagram and stuff like that. I really do not like to look at them. A lot of times I go, oh my gosh, I'm holding so much fat here. I'm holding this there. Like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I really do need to bring up my calves. Like, that's the one that I notice all the time. That's why I kind of crop them out. Everyone's going to be like, I noticed that. Okay.
Oh my God.
But
I actually didn't. Now I'm gonna
yeah, I
look.
do. I do. Just being honest here, folks. So honestly, I don't think calipers are really a good measurement if you don't know how to use them and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a really good pair, and someone else is taking the measurements, or you're taking it from a different point. You really have to know what you're doing with those. And I don't. I'll be honest. I'll say I don't know what I'm doing. Could I research and figure it out? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have a layman's understanding of it, but and I wouldn't waste my money with hydrostatic weighing. I wouldn't waste my money with bod pod or anything like that. I'd really just focus on looking in the mirror. Like, abs, when I say you should have abs, I don't mean breathe out as hard as you can, bend over, crunch your abs, and you might see one of them barely. That's not having abs. That's like 24% body fat for most people.
Just
So,
point me out. Why don't you?
hey, like I'm spilling the truth here. So it's different
I'm
for
just
everyone.
joking.
And I know that the P ratio debate has been very huge, where you're saying like the fatter you are, the more propensity you have to gain fat versus muscle. And they're starting to kind of reverse that. So it's kind of a science where they're like, we're not 100% sure yet. There needs to be more evidence, but it seems to be that you can still gain a decent amount of body fat, or I'm sorry, muscle mass at a higher body fat. But then are you going to lose a lot of that muscle mass during the longer dieting and harsher dieting process that you have to go through in order to strip off that fat? Well,
Mm-hmm.
probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really like this approach because, well, I like it also because I can have somewhat of abs rather than just, losing abs at one point. So there is that. But I guess the approach that we're taking now, I see how it really could benefit us because like once we finally are ready to compete again, we don't have to prep for like quite as long. So staying somewhat lean and gaining muscle, then we could also prep for a little bit shorter time. So it's not, so long that all this fat's on. So yeah, I that's just one of those things I guess I wanted to go over because there's so many people I talk to that kind of fall into that. And I'm still learning it, but I don't know how to quite explain it, that they're like, oh man, eat as much food as you possibly can, because you hear, bodybuilders you follow that I don't know, what do they say? They're like,
Eat
if you,
big, get big.
yeah,
Eat big, get big.
yeah, and
But
that's what.
here's the deal, not to cut you off. People don't actually recognize that these guys are using 10, 20, 30 units of growth hormone. They're using 10, 20, 30 IUs of insulin throughout the day. So they're using substances that are going to help them at least store some of that as well, probably fat as well as muscle tissue. But obviously, the growth hormone will keep that
Mhm.
fat gain to a minimum. So I mean, sure. Are you using 30 units of farm grade HGH every single day, which mind you would cost more than a house in a year. That would be like, yeah, if I had to guess, 200 grand if you're using that much per
Oh
year.
my
I'm just
word.
guessing. So someone can
Yeah.
actually do the math and yell at me in the comments. And, insulin's relatively cheap, but I mean, I wouldn't mess around with it
Yeah.
personally. I'm not a fan of insulin. So
Yeah. I've heard that a lot and from other stories of podcasts I listen to. So, but yeah, I guess just to wrap up that kind of section of it, kind of what Billy was saying is, you know, be careful falling into the trap of what you hear on Instagram or YouTube, because like a natural versus like these pros, it's just very different. So maybe try and strip off some of the fat, get leaner, gain slowly. Don't focus so much on gaining 30 pounds in this amount of like months or whatever. Like gain slowly, and you'll thank us later. So
100%.
and hopefully we can go over this a little bit more in detail, um because I just think that every gym anywhere you'll find those college guys that are doing that kind of diet. So
Mhm.
this is a big topic. I think a lot of people could learn from, even people that are way older. I know people are learning from, like, learning this strategy. So it could make a huge difference in your physique, the way you feel, if you want to prep for a show, the amount of time you do it. So yeah. All right, so how long have we been on here for? So about 50 minutes. So we answer a couple more for you guys. We have several more questions, but this won't be the last time Billy's on here. So
Definitely not.
yeah,
Definitely not.
he'll be on here more. You guys will get to know him pretty well. All right, well, let's see what we got here. All right, here's a good one. What would be your best advice for a woman trying to get back in shape?
Okay. Yeah. I think from a female perspective, I think women care more about how they look than guys. And I'm not saying that to be sexist. I think it's a good thing. I think more individuals should care about what they look like, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, they have more of like a societal pressure to look good. And I think that that's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's totally wrong that there's this ideal look of a woman. So really what I would want the woman to focus on is feeling better, you know,
Yeah.
really focus on, am I taking small steps each day that are going to improve my quality of life? Am
Mm-hmm.
I taking small steps that are going to improve my health through nutrition, through movement, and not really focus so much on the whole black and white thinking, like I have to work out 5 days a week for an hour with weights and I have to eat just chicken breast and broccoli, and if I don't, I'm a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Think about those victories that you have every single day and continue to build off those. Track them, write them down, come up with some sort of plan that you feel that you can actually accomplish every single day, not something that you feel you should do that sounds like a struggle, but really focusing on those small steps. And before you know it, you're going to build up that momentum and that head of steam, and you'll be to the point where you go, holy crud, I've changed so many different things. I'm feeling better, I'm looking better, because that will come with those habit changes, not the other way around.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I guess one thing that I could say is finding something that you enjoy, because I feel like a lot of people I talk to that just want to lose some weight, want to get in shape. They're not trying to diet down for like a show, kind of like we are, and go through hell, even though we enjoy going through that hell. But I guess for just a woman trying to get back in shape, is on top of what Billy says, just kind of finding what it is that you enjoy. If it's like at home workouts, if it's like going on a 30-minute bike ride, just
Yeah.
starting out slow, finding something you enjoy, because like, you don't want to go through life and doing something you hate every day, because you won't really stick to it. It won't be enjoyable for you. So find something that you could do maybe 3-4 times a week, and that you enjoy doing, because if you enjoy it, you'll do it longer, more consistent. And as we discussed earlier, consistency is like, way up there, top notch thing you got to really focus on. So
Yeah,
yeah,
good
that's
advice.
yeah. All right, you got time for two more? You got time for one more? How do you?
Let's do one more and see what we have left.
Okay. Oof. I really want to ask you this, but I don't know how long it would take.
I'll try to give you the quick version, hopefully.
Okay. Well, I don't know. So this is just a little me and you talk, I guess, that I just want to kind of curious about. and I got buddies that will watch this and enjoy hearing it. The Olympia is going on right now,
Mm,
and I'm kind of I don't know how much you're watching it right now. I'm sure you watch it
yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah.
Um, can I get your predictions on what
Mhm.
you think for each category between? I don't watch the men's physique, but if you do and we want to go
I
through
don't.
that,
I don't,
okay.
unfortunately.
I
I
really
have I have mad respect for those guys because they look like bodybuilders nowadays and they train
they're
like
big.
beasts.
Yeah.
But I don't follow it too much. I think I might start to. I just like the posing. I'm sorry, the posing just turns me off.
Yeah.
Like where they're like with their hand and like like, bro, make them do different poses. But they look phenomenal. They look better than
Yeah.
I do.
No, I agree. I follow some guys like I enjoy following Brandon Hendrickson. I mean, he is Mr. Olympia, so he's
Yeah.
huge. He looks amazing. I follow guys like Jeremy Buendias, but I just don't follow as much like you said. So I guess we went through the Open,
And the 212 and the classic.
212, and Classic. Oh shoot, I almost forgot about that one. Geesh,
Okay.
that's my own category. I
Yeah.
almost forgot.
Yeah. I'll start with the 212s because I did watch a little bit of prejudging.
Okay.
It's really close between the giant killer Sean Clarita and Derek Lunsford.
Yeah.
I think they're going to give the edge to Derek. Sean is
Really.
much more conditioned. And when I say much more, that's just Sean's MO.
Yeah.
Dude comes in shredded all the time. I love Sean. Used to compete with him back in my natural days. When he was natural, folks, he's definitely not natural. Please don't even
Yeah.
try to think about that. 5'1",
Wait.
180.
I know. Wait, you used to compete with him?
Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't compete. He was a world champ, but when I competed and he competed, he was 123 on stage.
Oh my word. Yeah, I mean
And
being 5'1", yeah,
yeah,
is
he won
crazy.
WMBF Worlds if I remember correctly. I think he has a couple titles, but I think I want Sean to win, but I think they're going to give it to Derek. That's my guess.
Okay.
I want Terrence Ruffin to win classic physique, but I think it's going to be between him and Bumstead. And I think you're going to see Brian in third. I think he's going to fall back a little.
Mm-hmm.
In the open, I think Ramy's going to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be conditioned. I know he's been hiding stuff, but he stepped on stage yesterday at the press conference. Mind you, it was later in the day, so he probably had some food in him, some poop in him. He was wearing a suit, he was wearing shoes, and he was 303.
Yeah.
Now, there were years past where Ramy the day before the show was like 315, 316. So that means it's probably going to be
It's
a lean
huge.
version of Ramy as long as he doesn't screw up his peak,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know what he does diuretic wise and all that. But if he comes in dialed, he's going to win. I'm honestly thinking Nick Walker might nab that second place.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Ramy, Walker, and then third place is going to be Brandon Curry. That's my guess. And I
Okay.
think James Hollingshead, I'm hoping he cracks the top 5 because
Mm-hmm.
he looks peeled out of his mind. I don't know if you've seen pictures of Hollingshead
A little bit.
lately. Oh my gosh. And he is like almost 300 pounds,
Is he
if I
really?
remember correctly. He's a muscular dude.
Wow, shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man, it's tough. I agree with you. But it's just crazy to say that. I even tell Chloe, and she doesn't really follow it much. I think it's just that crazy that Nick Walker literally, what was it, Tampa or whatever, won, or New York. I don't know what it is, but he
He won
won
the New
the,
York Pro,
yeah, New York
I
Pro.
believe.
Oh, and then the Arnold,
Yeah,
and now we're saying second at Olympia. Like, isn't that insane?
it is insane, but he's a
That's
phenom.
crazy. Yeah, he is
He is a
crazy.
phenom. I mean, like he doesn't have that many years under his belt training, and he just responds so well to it genetically. And he is a hard worker. I'm not going to take anything away from him. The
Mhm.
kid has a big heart for the sport. Probably has a big heart too, unfortunately, from his size.
Oh yeah.
But and I don't know. Have you seen? Did you see Keon Pearson in Classic? He
Oh
looks terrible.
wait, he's not in 212 anymore.
No, he moved to class. Did he move to Classic? No, he's 212. You're right. He's 212. Gosh, now I'm confused. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
212, but he is soft.
I saw that and I was like, ooh. And I
I was
thought,
upset because I love his physique. The dude flows. If he came in dialed, he'd be fighting for that top spot.
yeah. Yeah,
But
his
he's soft, man.
I love his like he just has like this V taper, this really good structure. But yeah,
Small waist.
mhm. But like I even saw him at his last show that he won, and like he looked great, but I just felt like he just hasn't gotten that peeled yet, you know?
He looks about 5 weeks out. If I were to put him anywhere, I'd
Yeah.
say you need 5 more weeks.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. I'd have to agree with you. I mean, I think Rami is gonna be, if he comes in lean, I think it's gonna be insanely hard to beat.
Yeah,
He's so big.
so much muscle.
It's, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And well, I guess that goes with his name, so it all makes sense too. But
I like him
it,
too. He is like
yeah,
his personality, like if you can understand what he's saying, it's pretty funny. You know, he's
yeah.
a fisherman, right?
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, he's like does that, you know, like where they go and they like professional fishermen on like those big barges and stuff where they throw the nets in and stuff like that. That's what he does for a living. So he'll be
Nuh-uh.
gone.
Wow,
Yeah,
I didn't know
he'll be
that.
gone for like 3-4 weeks on this boat. I'm like, how the heck does he still like, I don't know. He's still a beast, you know, like he
Yeah.
doesn't train as consistently, but a lot of the guys back in the day, they used to take, you know, 4 to 5 months off. I mean, you look at I can't even think of his name. Crud. He tried to make a comeback. Oh
Oh,
God.
Phil Heath. Is that what
No,
you're talking about? Oh no.
no, older bodybuilder.
Oh,
He's also a
gosh.
singer.
Oh, shoot. Then I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, I'm brain farting. But anyhow, I think next question. Let's answer this last one. Was there one
Okay.
more?
Well, real fast. So yeah, I would say Rami.
Oh yeah,
And
no doubt.
I honestly, I seriously think Sean's still gonna take it.
You
So
think he's going to take the 212?
I think so. I just feel like
He should.
his abs are so dug out. Like he is just so peeled. But then Derek does look really good. His good structure, but I just
His shape,
some
man.
about Sean just sticks out.
From
So
the back though, if you look at Lunsford, his back is freaking peeled. It's
yeah,
silly, and his glutes are in. His hamstrings are freaking like carved out of stone. It's just
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see though. You never know what these judges are thinking. So,
you're
I mean,
right.
I think it's going to be a really close call. It'll be like a 1 or 2 point difference.
Yeah. And then the classic, I think that Chris is just gonna blow it out again. So
Dude,
I think so. I feel like it's gonna be a battle. I think Terrence is gonna take it, but I think between him and Breon, I think they'll go back and forth. But I think Chris is just insanely like
so
good.
wait, so you think Chris is going to win, or you think Terrence is going to win?
No, I think Chris is just in another level. Like I think
Yeah.
he's gonna keep winning as long as he, wants to, I think. Well, I mean, maybe there'll be a guy, but I think he just fits that part so well. It's crazy.
And
So
dark horse wild card here. I'm hoping to see Wesley Vissers actually do something. Like
oh yeah.
I'm hoping he gets top 7. I think he will. The dude just doesn't come in lean enough. His
Mhm.
structure is amazing, and then he wears his shorts way too high up. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? You're not doing yourself any favors. I like him though, so
Yeah. All
he's like
right.
a
Yeah.
young Arnold.
That's a name I haven't heard much, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he places. Okay. Last question. Let's see what we
Let's
got.
do it.
I don't want to do that one.
Oh, the underwear one? Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Oh, yeah. We'll save that one for next time.
Okay.
No. All right. This is a good one. I think this would be a good one to end on. Would you rather be on a low macro prep for the rest of your life or give up bodybuilding?
In terms of like the sport, but I could still lift.
Um, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's easy. I give up bodybuilding.
Okay, so you would give up bodybuilding rather than eating like what you would be like, let's say 4 weeks out from a show?
Yeah, because I haven't competed since 2011, over 10 years, and I still love what I'm doing. So nothing would change.
Oh shoot, I see what you're saying. So so you're saying bodybuilding in terms of competing, but you could still train.
Now, if you're talking about training, then I'll take the low macros every day. I'm not going to give up training. You'll have to put a gun to my head and pull the trigger.
Yeah, let's do it to that. So either give up training
Oh,
or low macros.
low macros, no problem. I would,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're like, I would eat 10 bowls of jello if I had to. Like
yeah, and dog poop with whipped cream on it
oh
if I have
hell
to.
no. Screw
No,
that.
mix if I can mix protein powder maybe, but the texture, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that'd be a lot of protein powder I'd have to mix in there. Shoot, there's no
There
way.
goes all your macros
Oh my gosh.
and
Yeah,
dog poop.
I'd agree with you. Training is just, yeah, I could go low macros and keep training. So
Yeah, of
well, Billy, I appreciate you hopping on. We'll do
course.
it again. So
Can I give a plug for my Instagram?
oh yeah, shoot. I'll also have like his information down below because this will be on
Cool.
YouTube. So but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, check me out on Instagram. It's at Billy Builds Fitness. It's one word, obviously. Billy, not IE. I don't spell it like that. Reach out to me on there if you want coaching, or if you just want to say, hey, you could DM me. I won't respond if you're rude or ask me for nudes, because believe it or not, I get that quite often. It's really weird.
Seriously?
And it's
Wow.
always from guys.
Oh
So
my. Wow.
I
All
am
right.
happily married to my wife. So,
Mhm.
but anyways, well, thanks for having me, man. It was fun. We got
Yeah.
to do it
Yep.
again.
For sure. And just throw this out there, I've prepped with Billy once, and we're currently, working through some things with my body physically right now. So because we're going to prep down the road. But I highly recommend him. He's very strategic. He isn't one of those guys that throws you a plan and asks you a month later how it's going. He's there almost every day. We check up on how I'm
Yep.
doing. He's looking at your progress every week. So I recommend him. He could change your physique greatly. He knows what he's doing. So check out his Instagram and just chat with him, because he'll be there to help you for sure. So, but
Cool.
yeah, Billy, I appreciate it. We'll do this
Of
again
course.
soon.
All right, man.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, take it easy.
You too.